The boy is standing on the wooden platform when his father shoves him forward again, like he forgot the boy is already there. The crowd is close, too close, boots grinding into dry dirt, eyes fixed like they're waiting for meat to be priced. The boy doesn't move. He just looks straight ahead. The father laughs, shaking a bottle in his hand, spilling a little whiskey on his own sleeve. "He don't bite," the father says. "Unless you tell him to." A few men in the crowd chuckle, but nobody looks away. The auctioneer raises a hand. "Start the bid." The boy finally speaks without turning his head. "You done yet?" The father looks at him, confused for a second, then laughs harder. "Hear that? Kid thinks he gets a say." The boy's jaw tightens. "I didn't ask you." The father leans closer now, breath sour. "You never ask. You just take what's given." The boy finally turns his eyes toward him. "You already took everything." That silence hits the crowd before anything else does. The auctioneer clears his throat. "We start at 10. A man in the back raises a hand. 15. Another voice. 20. The father perks up like he's watching a game. "See? Told you. Worth something." The boy whispers, almost to himself. "I was never yours." From the side of the crowd, a man spits into the dirt. "Boy don't even flinch." Another replies, "That's the problem with him." The father steps closer to the edge of the platform. "He'll work. Don't eat much. Don't talk much either unless you hit him." The boy doesn't react. The auctioneer calls again. 30. The father raises the bottle slightly like he's toasting. 35, maybe? The boy finally shifts his feet, slow, deliberate. "You selling me like a horse." The father points at him. "You ain't better than one." A pause spreads through the crowd. Dust moves in the sunlight. The boy looks down at his hands. Small. Bruised. Still steady. "I remember when you said I was your son," he says quietly. The father laughs instantly. "That was before you became expensive." The crowd reacts to that one, a few low laughs, a few uncomfortable looks. The auctioneer raises his voice. 40. The father nods quickly. 40's good. Take him. Take him now." The boy finally looks up fully, eyes scanning faces. No one steps back. No one saves him. That realization doesn't break him. It hardens him. Then a voice cuts through. Not loud. Not fast. Just final. 40. Everything shifts slightly before anyone sees the man. The cowboy stands at the edge of the crowd, hat low, face half in shadow. The father squints. "Who the hell are you?" The cowboy doesn't answer. The auctioneer leans forward. "We got a bidder." The father laughs again, shaky now. "You serious? You buying a kid?" The cowboy steps forward once. "I'm ending it." The boy turns his head slightly for the first time. Their eyes don't fully meet yet, but something locks in the air between them. The boy studies him like a problem. The cowboy doesn't look away. The father waves his bottle. "He ain't worth 40. The cowboy replies flat. "Not buying him." The auctioneer pauses. "Then what?" The cowboy says, stopping you. The crowd goes quiet in a way that feels dangerous. The father leans in, annoyed now. "You think you're some kind of hero?" The cowboy answers without emotion. "No." The boy finally speaks directly to him. "Why?" The cowboy looks at him now. Fully. "Because you're not supposed to be here." The boy doesn't blink. "Neither are you." That hits something, but the cowboy doesn't react outwardly. The auctioneer clears his throat again, nervous now. "We got a 40 bid." "Do we?" the cowboy interrupts. "Take him off the platform." The father snaps. He's mine. The cowboy takes one more step forward. Not anymore. The boy suddenly laughs once, short and sharp. He never was. The father swings his bottle down onto the wood railing. Shut your mouth. The cowboy turns slightly toward him now. You're done talking. The father freezes for a half second. The crowd shifts, sensing the change. The boy watches all of it, calm in a way that doesn't match his age. The auctioneer slowly lowers his hand. We got a situation here. The cowboy looks at the boy again. You walk. The boy tilts his head slightly. And if I don't? The cowboy answers immediately. Then you stay owned. That word lands differently. The boy looks down for the first time. Then back up. I don't belong to him. The father snaps back. You belong wherever I say. The cowboy steps closer now, voice lower. Not anymore. The silence stretches again, heavy and choking. The boy looks between them. Father. Stranger. Crowd. No safety anywhere. The cowboy finally says it again, softer but sharper. Walk. The boy doesn't move at first. Then slowly, he steps forward once. The father laughs nervously. You think he's going with you? The boy stops. Looks at the cowboy. Where? The cowboy answers, away. The boy looks back at the father one last time. The father raises his bottle again. You come back, you hear me? You always come back. The boy stares at him for a long second. Then quietly, not this time. He steps down from the platform. The wood creaks behind him as the world shifts. The cowboy doesn't touch him. Doesn't guide him. Just turns and starts walking. The boy hesitates for half a second, then follows. Behind them, the father yells something, but it disappears into the noise of the crowd. The boy doesn't look back again. And for the first time, no one calls his name. The boy keeps walking even after the town noise fades behind them, but his steps slow down without him realizing it. The cowboy doesn't look back. He just walks forward like he already knows the boy will follow or disappear, and either way it won't change his direction. The dirt road stretches empty ahead, broken by dry grass and old fence posts leaning like they gave up years ago. The boy finally speaks. You always walk like this? The cowboy answers without turning. Like what? The boy shrugs. Like you're already gone. The cowboy doesn't reply. That silence sits between them longer than the distance they walk. The boy suddenly stops. Where are we going? The cowboy keeps walking for 3 more steps before slowing. Away from there. The boy scoffs. That's not a place. The cowboy finally turns slightly, just enough to see him. It is today. The boy studies him. Dust on his boots, coat worn at the edges, hat low over eyes that don't offer anything. You didn't even ask my name, the boy says. The cowboy answers immediately. Didn't need it. That hits harder than expected. The boy looks away first. Everyone needs a name. The cowboy steps closer by 1 pace. Not right now. The wind picks up slightly, pushing dust across the road. The boy rubs his arm like he's suddenly aware of the cold. You gonna take me somewhere and sell me again? The cowboy's expression changes slightly, but not much. No, the boy narrows his eyes. That's what they all say. The cowboy replies, calm but firm. Then don't believe me yet. The boy almost laughs. That's honest. The cowboy nods once. Best I got. They start walking again, slower now, side by side but not together. The boy keeps half a step behind. Why did you stop it? He asks. The cowboy doesn't answer right away. The road crunches under their boots. A bird calls somewhere far off, but nothing else moves. Because it wasn't right, the cowboy finally says. The boy shakes his head. Nothing out there is right. The cowboy replies, doesn't mean you do nothing. That makes the boy quiet for a moment. They reach an old water trough near a dead fence line. The wood is cracked, half sunk into dirt. The cowboy stops there. The boy watches him carefully. This your place? The cowboy shakes his head. No place yet. The boy leans against the fence post, testing it with his hand. It creaks but holds. So you just wander? The cowboy pulls out a tin cup from his coat. Something like that. He dips it into the trough water and sets it down without offering it directly. The boy hesitates, then grabs it quickly and drinks like he didn't expect permission to last. The cowboy watches him but doesn't comment. The boy wipes his mouth with his sleeve. You got family? The cowboy answers immediately. No, the boy nods slowly. Good. The cowboy looks at him now. Why's that good? The boy shrugs. Families don't stay. The cowboy says nothing to that. The boy adds, quieter, they just decide when you're worth keeping. That line sits in the air longer than anything else. The cowboy finally says, you hungry? The boy answers too fast. No, the cowboy just looks at him. The boy sighs. Yes. The cowboy pulls a piece of dry bread from his coat and tosses it lightly. The boy catches it without thinking. He looks at it like it might disappear. That all? The cowboy replies, for now. The boy bites into it anyway, chewing fast, not looking grateful, just surviving. The cowboy leans against the fence, watching the road instead of him. The boy eats half before speaking again. You always help strangers? The cowboy answers, no. The boy smirks slightly. So I'm special? The cowboy finally looks at him directly. You're not special. That lands rough. The boy pauses mid-bite. The cowboy continues, you were in the wrong place. The boy swallows. That's it? The cowboy nods. That's it. The boy looks down at the bread, quieter now. Wrong place feels like my whole life. A long silence follows. The wind moves through the fence, making soft rattling sounds. The boy finishes the bread slowly now, less hungry, more thoughtful. Where's your home? He asks. The cowboy answers, ahead. The boy frowns. That's not an answer. The cowboy says, it's the only one I've got. The boy studies him again. You don't talk much. The cowboy replies, talking doesn't fix things. The boy mutters, neither does silence. They start walking again, leaving the trough behind. The boy kicks a small rock as they move. It skips once, twice, then disappears into dust. You gonna tell me where we're really going? He asks. The cowboy answers, when it matters. The boy groans. Everything matters. The cowboy glances at him briefly. Not all at once. The road opens wider now, empty land stretching on both sides. The boy slows again, looking around. There's nothing here. The cowboy says, that's the point. The boy shakes his head. Nothing still feels like something waiting. The cowboy doesn't respond immediately. Then quietly, you get used to it. The boy looks at him again, studying him differently now. Less fear, more calculation. You ever have someone waiting for you? The cowboy answers after a pause. Once. The boy asks, what happened? The cowboy replies, they stopped. The boy nods slowly like he understands that language better than most. Mine didn't stop, he says. He just sold me instead. The cowboy doesn't react, but his pace slows slightly. They walk in silence again, closer now than before without choosing it. The boy finally asks, softer, you gonna keep me? The cowboy doesn't answer right away. The wind moves across the road, dust rising between them. No one keeps anyone, the cowboy says finally. The boy looks down. That's what I thought. A beat passes. Then the cowboy adds, but I'm not leaving you in the dust either. The boy looks up at him quickly, unsure what that means. The cowboy keeps walking. The boy follows, a half step faster this time, like something inside him shifted, but he doesn't want to admit it yet. The house appears without warning, sitting low against the land like it's been waiting too long to be noticed. The boy slows his steps immediately. That it? The cowboy doesn't answer right away. He just stops. The boy looks up at it again. It looks dead. The cowboy finally says, "It is quiet." The boy gives a short laugh. That's the same thing out here. The cowboy walks forward. No. Quiet still remembers. The boy doesn't move at first, then follows a few steps behind, watching the house like it might move first. The wooden steps creak when the cowboy climbs them. The boy hesitates at the bottom. Anyone here? The cowboy answers without turning. Not anymore. The boy narrows his eyes. Not anymore sounds like a story. The cowboy opens the door slowly. It is. The boy finally steps inside after him. The air inside is thick, still, wrong in a way the boy can't explain. No dust moving. No sound. Just space holding its breath. The boy whispers, "Smells like nothing." The cowboy replies, "That's what gone becomes." The boy walks in further, looking around. Old furniture sits covered in thin dust, untouched like time stopped mid-action. A chair is slightly turned, like someone left mid-sentence and never came back. The boy runs his fingers lightly over a table. Nobody lives like this. The cowboy says, "I don't live here." The boy looks at him. Then what do you do here? The cowboy pauses. I stay. The boy walks toward a hallway. Same thing? The cowboy answers, "No." The boy stops at the edge of the hallway. What's the difference? The cowboy's voice lowers. Living moves forward. The boy mutters, "Sounds like lying." The cowboy doesn't respond. The boy steps forward again, slow, cautious, then stops at a closed door at the end of the hall. What's in there? The cowboy reacts immediately. Don't. The boy freezes, then turns his head slightly. That's where she is. Silence hits hard. The cowboy steps closer but doesn't grab him. Leave it. The boy faces him now. Your wife? The cowboy's jaw tightens. Don't. The boy pushes anyway. Daughter? That lands heavier. The cowboy says nothing for a moment. The boy whispers, "She's in there, isn't she?" The cowboy finally says, "No," but his voice doesn't match it. The boy studies him closely. You're lying. The cowboy replies, quieter, "I'm trying not to." A faint sound breaks the silence. The boy stops. You hear that? The cowboy answers immediately. No. The boy turns slightly toward the door again. It's like breathing. The cowboy steps closer to him now, firmer. Stop listening. The boy shakes his head. I didn't imagine it. The cowboy says, "The house does that." The boy frowns. Houses don't breathe. The cowboy replies, "This one does what's left inside it." The boy steps back from the door but doesn't leave it fully. What happened here? The cowboy looks at the door instead of him. Something ended wrong. The boy asks again, sharper, "How wrong?" The cowboy pauses. Wrong enough that it stayed. The boy's voice drops. She died here? The cowboy finally says, "Not here." The boy presses, "Then where?" The cowboy answers, "Close enough to bring it back." The boy backs away from the hallway slowly. You brought it back? The cowboy shakes his head. I never left it. The boy studies him now, something shifting in his expression. Less curiosity, more understanding he doesn't want. That's why you're here, he says. The cowboy doesn't confirm it. That silence confirms everything anyway. They move back into the main room. The boy sits on the edge of a chair but doesn't relax. The cowboy stands near the window, looking out at nothing but land and wind. The boy says, "This place feels wrong." The cowboy answers, "It is." The boy adds, "Like something is still happening." The cowboy nods once. "It is." The boy looks at him sharply. "What?" The cowboy replies, "Just not to us anymore." The boy leans forward. "You ever sleep here?" The cowboy says, "Sometimes." The boy asks, "You dream here?" The cowboy hesitates. "No," the boy mutters, "that sounds worse." The cowboy finally turns slightly. "It is." The wind outside presses against the house, making wood creak softly. The boy stands suddenly. "I want out of this room." The cowboy nods. "Go outside." The boy hesitates at the door. "You coming?" The cowboy answers, "Not yet." The boy studies him again. "You always stay behind?" The cowboy replies, "Only where I need to remember." The boy frowns. "That doesn't sound like living either." The cowboy says quietly, "It isn't." The boy steps outside slowly, closing the door behind him. The sound is heavy, final. Inside, the cowboy doesn't move. He stands still in the quiet room, facing the window, like he's waiting for something that already happened to finish speaking. The house remains silent, but not empty. The boy is still outside when the cowboy finally steps out behind him, closing the door slow like he doesn't want the house to hear it. The boy doesn't turn right away. He just stares at the ground. "She's not there," the boy says. The cowboy answers quietly, "No." The boy looks up now. "But she's not gone either." The cowboy doesn't deny it. The wind pushes through the dry grass, brushing dust over their boots. The boy adds, "That place is holding her." The cowboy finally says, "It holds what people leave behind." The boy studies him. "You left her there?" That lands sharp. The cowboy's jaw tightens. "I didn't leave her. I buried her wrong." They start walking around the side of the house without deciding to. The ground is uneven, cracked with old roots and dry soil. The boy kicks at a small stone. "Wrong how?" The cowboy doesn't answer immediately. The silence stretches until it becomes heavier than words. The boy stops walking. "Don't do that. Don't start something and then go quiet." The cowboy finally speaks. "They said it was an accident." The boy laughs once, short and bitter. "You believe that?" The cowboy answers, "No." The boy nods. "Good. Because nobody does out here." They reach a half-buried fence post, old wood eaten by time. The boy crouches beside it, tracing lines in the dirt. "Something happened here," he says. The cowboy watches him closely. "Don't dig," he warns. The boy looks up. "Everything here is already dug." The cowboy steps closer. "Not everything needs to be brought back." The boy stands slowly. "You brought me back." That stops the cowboy for a moment. The boy continues, "So don't tell me about what should stay buried." A long silence follows. The wind shifts direction, carrying dust across the open land. The boy looks toward the horizon. "Was she your wife?" The cowboy shakes his head once. "No." The boy frowns. "Daughter?" The cowboy doesn't answer right away. That delay says too much. The boy's voice softens slightly. "She was." The cowboy finally nods. "Yes." The boy looks down again. "That changes things." The cowboy replies, "It shouldn't." They stand there without moving. The boy asks, "What did she do?" The cowboy's eyes harden slightly. "She saw things she wasn't supposed to see." The boy presses, "Like what?" The cowboy hesitates. "Land changing hands. At night." The boy frowns. "That doesn't sound like much." The cowboy looks at him directly now. "It does when it's tied to bodies." That hits silence instantly. The boy's posture stiffens. "Bodies?" The cowboy nods once. The boy whispers, "Who?" The cowboy doesn't answer. The silence becomes unbearable. The boy steps closer. "Don't do that again. Don't stop halfway." The cowboy finally says, "Men who weren't supposed to be here." The boy asks, "Sheriff?" The cowboy doesn't confirm it, but doesn't deny it. The boy exhales slowly. "So she saw it." The cowboy says quietly, "And she didn't stop asking." A faint sound comes from the direction of the road. The boy reacts instantly. "Someone's coming." The cowboy turns his head slightly. "I know." The boy steps back toward the house. "Sheriff?" The cowboy shakes his head. "Worse." The boy frowns. "Worse than sheriff?" The cowboy answers, "People who don't need titles." The boy's voice drops. "What do they want?" The cowboy says, "What she left behind." The boy's breathing tightens. "So this is about her still?" The cowboy replies, "It never stopped being about her." The boy watches the road now, eyes narrowed. "You didn't tell me that part." The cowboy says, "You didn't need it yet." The boy snaps, "I decide that." The cowboy steps closer, voice steady. "Not when they're already coming." 3 riders appear in the distance first, slow and deliberate, not rushing. The boy watches them approach. "Those aren't law," he says. The cowboy replies, "No." The boy asks, "Then what are they?" The cowboy answers, "Cleanup." The boy turns slightly. "For what?" The cowboy's voice lowers. "For anything that gets too loud." The riders stop at a distance, not speaking yet. The air feels tight, like the land itself is holding breath again. The boy whispers, "We running?" The cowboy answers immediately. "No." The boy looks at him sharply. "You sure?" The cowboy nods once. "Running doesn't fix what they came for." The boy clenches his jaw. "Then what does?" The cowboy finally says, standing still long enough to stop them. The riders begin to move closer. The boy's hands tense. "I don't know how to do this." The cowboy looks at him briefly. "Then don't do it alone." The boy almost laughs. "That's your advice?" The cowboy replies, "It's all I've got." The boy looks back at the riders. They look ready. The cowboy says quietly, "They are." The wind picks up again, dust circling low around their boots. The boy steps slightly behind the cowboy without realizing it. The cowboy notices but doesn't comment. The riders stop again, closer now. One of them calls out, but the words aren't clear yet. The boy whispers, "This is where it starts again, isn't it?" The cowboy answers, "No." The boy looks at him. "Then where?" The cowboy says, "Here it ends." The riders are closer now, but it is not the riders that change the air first. It is the sound of a second horse behind them, slower, heavier, like it owns the ground it moves on. The boy notices first. There's more. The cowboy doesn't look away from the front. "I know." The boy swallows hard. "That one feels different." The cowboy answers quietly, "Because it is." The sheriff appears last, riding through the gap between the riders like he was never late to anything in his life. He doesn't rush. He doesn't need to. He stops just outside the fence line, tilting his head slightly like he's studying a memory. "Didn't think you'd still be standing here," he says. The cowboy replies flat, "Didn't think you'd still be lying." The sheriff smiles like that line amuses him. The boy shifts slightly behind the cowboy, watching carefully. The sheriff's eyes move to the boy. "That him?" The cowboy answers immediately, "Not yours to look at." The sheriff chuckles. "Everything out here is mine to look at." The boy steps forward half a step without thinking. "I'm not anything," he says. The sheriff looks at him longer now. That's what they all say before they learn better. The boy doesn't back down. "I already learned enough." The sheriff nods slowly. "Good." Makes it easier. The cowboy finally steps forward one pace. Say what you came to say. The sheriff sighs like he's disappointed in the lack of ceremony. Still impatient. The cowboy replies, still alive. That makes the sheriff pause for a fraction of a second. Then he smiles again. She used to talk like that too. The air tightens instantly. The boy turns his head slightly toward the cowboy. The cowboy doesn't move. The boy asks quietly, Sarah? The sheriff hears it and nods. Smart girl. Too smart. The cowboy's jaw tightens. Don't. The sheriff raises a hand slightly. I'm not here to insult memory. The boy cuts in, sharper now, then why are you here? The sheriff looks at him again. Because memory doesn't stay buried when people keep digging. The cowboy replies, we didn't dig. The sheriff smiles. Not yet. The riders behind the sheriff shift slightly, hands near weapons but not drawing. The boy watches all of them, realizing this isn't a visit. It's a pressure test. The sheriff continues calmly, she saw things she shouldn't have. That's all. The boy shakes his head. People keep saying that like it explains anything. The sheriff looks at him with mild curiosity. It explains everything. The boy snaps, no it doesn't. The sheriff's smile widens slightly. You'll understand when you're older. The boy replies immediately, I already understand enough to know that's a lie. The cowboy finally speaks, voice low. You came to threaten or to clean? The sheriff exhales slowly. Neither. I came to see what broke you. The cowboy doesn't respond. The sheriff studies him longer. You look the same. The cowboy answers, you don't. That lands sharper than expected. The sheriff's smile fades slightly, just for a moment. Then it returns. She should have stayed quiet. The boy steps forward again. She didn't. The sheriff looks at him. No. She didn't. A long silence spreads. The wind moves dust between them. The sheriff dismounts slowly now, boots hitting ground with deliberate calm. Here's the thing, he says. You don't bury truth in this land. You just delay it. The cowboy replies, we didn't bury truth. We buried her. That hits the air hard. Even the riders shift slightly. The sheriff nods once, almost respectful. And that's why we're still here. The boy looks confused. We? The sheriff gestures slightly toward the riders. Cleanup. Insurance. Call it what you want. The boy's voice drops. You killed her. The sheriff doesn't deny it immediately. That pause is enough. The cowboy steps forward again, voice sharper now. Say it. The sheriff finally answers, calm. She didn't listen. The boy shakes his head. That's not an answer. The sheriff looks at him directly now. It's the only one that matters out here. The boy's fists clench. She was just a kid. The sheriff replies softly, she was a problem. That word lands heavier than expected. The cowboy's hand tightens near his side. The sheriff continues, problems don't stay small. They grow. They spread. The boy steps forward fully now, no longer behind the cowboy. You talk like she was a disease. The sheriff nods slightly. That's what truth becomes when it threatens order. The boy snaps, you call this order? The sheriff looks around slowly. It works. The cowboy finally says it, voice low and controlled. It's going to end. The sheriff smiles again, almost kindly now. Everything ends. Just depends who gets to decide how. The boy whispers, she didn't get that choice. The sheriff looks at him. No. She didn't. The wind shifts harder now. Dust thickens around their boots. One of the riders moves slightly forward behind the sheriff. The cowboy notices instantly. Last warning, the cowboy says. The sheriff tilts his head. From who? The cowboy replies, from what's left. The sheriff sighs like he's tired now. You think this boy changes anything? The cowboy answers immediately, yes. The sheriff looks at the boy again. He's already broken. The boy snaps back, I'm still standing. The sheriff nods. For now. The silence after that is different. Heavier. Final. The sheriff takes one step back toward his horse. You'll dig it up, he says. The cowboy replies, already started. The sheriff smiles one last time. Then you already know how it ends. He turns slightly. You just don't know when. The riders begin to shift back. The sheriff pauses once more. She shouldn't have seen it, he says quietly, almost like regret. The boy answers, then you shouldn't have done it. That stops everything for a fraction of a second. The sheriff looks at him longer now. Then he nods once. Good kid. He turns away. As they ride off slowly, the boy stands still, breathing hard. The cowboy doesn't move either. The dust settles between them again, but nothing feels settled. The boy finally whispers, he's coming back. The cowboy replies, no. The boy looks at him. Then what? The cowboy says quietly, we are. The night doesn't feel like night. It feels like something waiting just beyond sight, holding its breath with them. The boy stands near the edge of the yard, staring at the ground where the riders left. They're not gone, he says. The cowboy answers without looking up, no. The boy turns slightly. They'll come back. The cowboy nods once. Yes. The boy frowns. So why are we still here? The cowboy finally looks at him. Because leaving doesn't change what's buried. A long silence follows. The wind pushes low across the dirt, carrying dry dust into small circles around their boots. The boy kicks the ground once. Everything here is buried. The cowboy replies, that's the problem. The boy looks up sharply. Then dig it up. That lands heavier than expected. The cowboy doesn't answer right away. The boy steps closer. You keep acting like it's already over. It's not over. It never even started. The cowboy finally says, it started before you were born. That makes the boy pause. Then finish it. The cowboy looks at him longer now. You don't understand what that means. The boy snaps back, I understand enough. The cowboy shakes his head slightly. No. You understand anger. Not consequence. The boy clenches his jaw. She's dead. The cowboy answers quietly, yes. The boy's voice cracks slightly. Then what are we doing? The cowboy says, choosing how many more die after her. The boy goes quiet. The weight of that hangs between them. He looks down at the dirt again. So what? We just wait? The cowboy replies, no. The boy looks up. Then what? The cowboy finally says it clearly. We dig. That word changes the air immediately. They walk to the side of the house where the ground looks uneven, disturbed long before they arrived. The boy kneels first without hesitation. Here? The cowboy nods. Here. The boy starts digging with his hands, no tools, just dirt and force. You sure? He asks. The cowboy kneels beside him. Know that honesty stops the boy for half a second. Then he keeps digging anyway. The dirt is dry, breaking under their fingers. The boy coughs once, pushing deeper. If this is nothing, I swear, the cowboy interrupts, then we stop. The boy looks at him sharply. That's it? The cowboy nods. That's it. The boy goes back to digging harder. Silence stretches except for dirt moving, breath, and wind. After a long moment, the boy's hand hits something harder than soil. He freezes. I hit something. The cowboy shifts closer immediately. Don't pull yet. The boy hesitates. What is it? The cowboy doesn't answer. The boy looks up. Tell me. The cowboy says quietly, just clear around it. The boy obeys, slower now, more careful. As they clear the soil, wood begins to show. Old, rough, not meant to be seen. The boy's breathing changes. That's not fence. The cowboy's face tightens slightly. No, the boy whispers, that's a box. The cowboy nods once. Yes. The boy pulls back slightly. You said she wasn't buried here. The cowboy answers, I said not like that. The boy stares at it. Open it. The cowboy doesn't move. Not yet. The boy snaps, stop saying that. The cowboy looks at him. You open it fast, you don't see what matters. The boy shakes his head. I don't care what matters. I care what's inside. The cowboy replies, that's why you shouldn't open it alone. A long pause. The wind presses harder now, like it knows what's coming. The boy finally says, quieter, she's in there, isn't she? The cowboy doesn't answer immediately. That delay says everything. The boy exhales sharply. You brought me here for this. The cowboy replies, you were already here. I just didn't tell you yet. The boy grips the edge of the wood. I'm opening it. The cowboy reaches out but stops just short. Then do it slow. The boy hesitates, then forces the lid upward inch by inch. The sound is heavy, old wood resisting. Dust rises into the air like it's been trapped too long. The boy freezes. It's empty. The cowboy leans in slightly. It is not a body. Just remnants. Cloth. Something folded wrong. The boy's voice drops. Where is she? The cowboy's expression hardens. Not here. The boy turns on him instantly. You said, the cowboy interrupts, calm but sharp, I said buried wrong. The boy steps back. So what was this? The cowboy looks at the open box. A warning. The boy shakes his head. From who? The cowboy answers quietly, from people who didn't want her found. The boy's fists clench. The sheriff. The cowboy nods once. And more. The boy kicks the dirt hard. So she's just gone? The cowboy says, no. The boy snaps, then where is she? The cowboy pauses. Everywhere she shouldn't be. That confuses the boy. That's not an answer. The cowboy replies, it's the truth. The boy stares at the empty box longer now. His anger starts shifting into something heavier. So we dig for nothing? The cowboy stands slowly. No, the boy looks up. Then what? The cowboy says quietly, now we know they moved her. The boy's voice drops. That means they're still hiding her. The cowboy nods. Yes. The boy stands too now, breathing uneven. Then we find her. The cowboy studies him. That's what they want. The boy replies instantly, I don't care. The cowboy steps closer. That's how they win. The boy doesn't back down. Then what do we do? The cowboy answers, steady and final, we make them come to us. A silence falls between them again, but it is different now. Heavier. Directed. The boy looks at the empty ground. They're watching. The cowboy nods once. Yes. The boy whispers, good. The cowboy looks at him. That's not good. The boy replies, it means we're closer. The wind moves across the open land again, carrying dust over the broken soil. The cowboy closes the empty box slowly, not fixing it, just covering it enough to leave it hidden again. The boy watches him. We leave it? The cowboy answers, for now. The boy asks, and then? The cowboy looks toward the dark horizon. Then we stop waiting. The boy stands over the half-covered ground long after the cowboy stops moving. So that's it, he says. The cowboy doesn't answer right away. He presses dirt back over the empty box like it's not worth fighting anymore. The boy repeats louder, "That's it?" The cowboy finally looks up. No, the boy steps closer. Then what are we doing? The cowboy stands slowly. We stop reacting. The boy shakes his head. They took her. They're hiding her. That's not reaction, that's fact. The cowboy replies, and rushing makes you predictable. The boy kicks the dirt hard. I don't care about predictable. The cowboy steps closer. They do. That makes the boy pause slightly. The wind moves low across the ground, dust circling their boots. The boy breathes hard. So we just wait? The cowboy shakes his head. We choose the ground. The boy frowns. What does that mean? The cowboy looks toward the house. It means we stop letting them pull us into their places. The boy turns slowly. This house again? The cowboy nods once. This house remembers too much. The boy studies it. So do you. The cowboy doesn't deny it. That silence is heavier than words. The boy whispers, "They're coming back tonight." The cowboy replies, "Yes." The boy looks at him sharply. And you knew that? The cowboy says quietly, "I've been waiting for it." That lands differently. The boy steps back slightly. Waiting for it? The cowboy nods. They don't stop until they think you're broken. The boy laughs once, bitter. I'm already broken. The cowboy answers immediately. No. You're still loud. That makes the boy go quiet. They stand in silence for a moment longer. Then the cowboy turns toward the house. We burn it. The boy blinks. What? The cowboy repeats, calm and final. We burn it. The boy shakes his head. That's yours. The cowboy replies, it was hers. The boy steps closer. You think burning it fixes anything? The cowboy answers, no. It signals it. The boy frowns. Signals what? The cowboy looks at him directly. That we're done hiding. The boy exhales sharply. And then what? The cowboy says, then they stop guessing. The boy stares at him. Or they come faster. The cowboy nods. Yes. A long silence follows. The wind feels stronger now, pushing against the walls of the house like it's listening. The boy finally says, I don't like this plan. The cowboy replies, good. It means it's real. The boy shakes his head. It feels like suicide. The cowboy answers, it feels like honesty. They walk toward the house together now, slower than before. The boy glances at the windows. If she's watching, the cowboy cuts in, she's not. The boy looks at him sharply. You don't know that. The cowboy replies quietly, I do. That stops the boy for a moment. They step inside. The air is colder than before, like it has been waiting for them to return. The boy looks around. Feels worse now. The cowboy nods. Because we decided something. The boy asks, where do we start? The cowboy walks to the center of the room. Here. The boy watches him. You sure about this? The cowboy answers, no. The boy almost smiles at that. That's your thing, huh? Doing things you're not sure about. The cowboy replies, no one is sure when it matters. The boy looks toward the door again. They'll come fast? The cowboy nods. Faster now. The boy exhales. Good. The cowboy looks at him. That's not good. The boy replies, it is for me. That lands quiet but sharp. The cowboy pulls out a matchbox. The boy notices instantly. You were going to do this alone. The cowboy doesn't deny it. The boy steps closer. Why me? The cowboy pauses. Because you didn't stay on the platform. The boy frowns. That's it? The cowboy answers, that's enough. The boy watches the matchbox. You ever burned something before? The cowboy replies, yes. The boy asks, did it help? The cowboy answers, it ended things. The boy nods slowly. I want that. The cowboy looks at him. Be careful what you want. A silence spreads again. The house creaks softly under wind pressure. The boy asks quietly, where do we stand when it starts? The cowboy answers, outside. The boy frowns. That's all? The cowboy nods. That's all you need. The boy looks uncertain. And them? The cowboy replies, they come inside.